Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Glossy Philosophy. My name is Jansen Binman. Make sure that you are subscribed to this channel. Give this video a thumbs up because today we are being inspired by the color of the year, which is a really beautiful chocolate color, and we are doing a chocolatey bronzy eye makeup look. So stay tuned. I've already washed my face and done my skincare, so let's get started with the tutorial. First, I'm going to neutralize everything with my corrector. I'm just going to take my ring finger and gently tap that in underneath the eye to lift any blue or purple that's kind of peeking through. I didn't use quite as many oils and essences on my face this morning, so my face is a little tacky, but it's not going to slip the product like it normally would. If you do need to use a lot of essences and oils before you put on your base, make sure that it has a little bit of time to sink in before you start. Otherwise, everything is going to be moving around so much that it's going to be almost difficult to work with. However, you do want a little bit of tackiness to your skin before you put your base on, because then it will glide and it will kind of sink and set in rather than just slipping. And I'm actually going to grab my concealer from GIORGIO Armani. I'm going to grab just a little bit and put that on top of my lid. If you are a NARS eyeshadow primer fan like I am, you know it's been impossible to get. Every once in a while it becomes very difficult to get that eyeshadow primer, so you have to go back to your old tricks of the trade. You could use a paint pot from MAC, or you could use something from Urban Decay. Those I've heard work really, really well. The NARS one for me just is the best. So the only thing I found that works kind of comparable is to take some kind of concealer and then do a little bit of powder. So that's exactly what we're going to do. I'm going to grab my 108 from BK Beauty, tap into my butter powder from Fenty, and just very, very lightly tap that in on top to help that set and grip onto any eyeshadows that we're going to be using. So now the base is basically done. I do want to do my brows because we are going a little bit heavier with our eye look today, so I want to make sure that that is going to be balanced out. And then we'll be doing a skin tint from Lisa Eldridge, so I'm not worried about covering up my brows, and I can always use a tool if I need to, if I'm worried about it getting in my brows, or you know, you can always do touch-ups and things as well. Just going in the same direction as the hair is naturally growing, filling in any gaps that need to be filled in. And then of course at the front, we usually start using our hair in the front and the back, and then just like the volume of the brow. So everyone's brows are different and everybody's face needs something a little bit different depending on the look that they're going to be doing. Let's jump right into the eyes. I'm going to take black Treacle from Lisa Eldridge and tightline my upper lid, and then we're going to jump right in with the eyeshadow. I'm going to use Oyster Pearl from Charlotte Tilbury. I'm actually going to use a brush because if I use my finger I'm going to put too much pressure, and especially with that black Treacle that could kind of smudge down to the bottom, but with a brush I have a little bit more control and I don't have to close my eye all the way. So I'm using the 203 from BK Beauty, and I'm just saturating that lid, bringing it up into the socket, and I'm going to go just a little bit above, so that when my eye is open and I'm looking straight forward, there's just a little hint of it right there in the crease. Same thing on the other side. I always like to start at the ball of the eye. That's where I want most of the product focused. And you can see that this color is the perfect blend between warm and cool. You can absolutely wear it with cooler tones. You can wear it with warmer tones. We are going to warm it up just a little bit with some of those chocolate colors with a blast of burgundy using Charlotte Tilbury's Bella Sophia palette. We are going to be focusing on these darker colors here to just kind of build up this look. So first I'm just going to take my finger and gently pat anywhere where it feels like there might be a harsh line. I'm going to start with a pencil brush from MAC, go into that burgundy chocolate color, and I'm going to place that color towards the outer part of the lid just to give the eye a little bit more depth, a little bit more dimension, and then I'll blend out with a fluffier brush, the 217. Not super fluffy because I don't want the intensity of the shadow to go away, but I do want to move it around a little bit. So switching to my 217, I'm blending that into Oyster Pearl and also bringing that right up into that socket area, making sure it's nice and soft, just kind of fades away. And then you can go back in as many times as you want to build up that color. So I'm going to go in with another coat, lacing and blending out. I'm even going to take a little bit of that on the tip of my 217, so same 217, and bring that up just a little bit more so it has a little bit more blendability. It isn't quite so focused on the outer part of that eye. And then if you have another clean brush or you need to just wipe your 217 down, now is the time to just really soften what you just did with your 217. Having some kind of a finishing brush is very, very helpful. I'm going to wipe down my pencil brush and then I'm going to go into more of this brownie chocolate color right here along the lash line. And that just starts to create that smokiness that we're looking for. Next, I'm going to take a break from the eyes, finish up the complexion so I can do my liner and the under eye area. So I'm going to go in with the Skin Tint T6 from Lisa Eldridge, just squeezing out about a pea size amount, splitting that between my fingers, and then just gently massaging that into the skin. And we'll go in with a brush just to make sure that everything looks nice and even and that there are no lines. Because this is just for evening out the skin, we don't want there to be any lines. We don't want any lines with any kind of makeup, no matter how thin or thick it is. We want it to just look as natural as it possibly can with just emphasis. So I'm going to take Lisa's #1 brush and just very gently go around anywhere where makeup could kind of get caught, around any nooks and crannies in the face, around the edges, and just clean up maybe even anywhere where it's gotten a little bit too heavy in places. We can always add concealer or we can go in with a second coat of the skin tint, but I find that one is pretty good. Especially I feel like when you're doing a heavier eye, it's nice to have more of that skin peeking through than going with the traditional foundation. Unless you're having a red carpet moment and then you do what you need to do. So now we are ready for the concealer. Same thing, I'm going to use Giorgio Armani. I'm going to split it between my ring fingers. I'm going to tap it in and then I'll go back in with some kind of a tool, either a sponge or a brush. And this just helps to lift any extra darkness that's there. I can bring down anything extra down the center of my nose. I can do my chin if I need to. I can do lips, whatever I need to do. Now is the time for that. So I'm going to go back in with my one and just tap in, and again make sure that everything is nice and seamless and nothing looks like it's just kind of sitting there. We want it to just, again, we want it to become a part of the skin. We just don't want to look like we have the makeup on. So before I finish the eyes, I do feel like I need a little bit more color going on the face. I'm going to start with my lips by using Muse from Lisa Eldridge. This is probably my ride or die lip gloss. It's very similar to my natural lip shade, which is great. I can throw it on and I don't have to think about it. And it works really well with a more concentrated eye look. Then I'm going to take Charlotte Tilbury's Hollywood Contour Wand and I'm going to put that right under that cheekbone, which usually lines up with kind of the base of where your ear attaches. So right under that cheekbone, and then a little bit along the hairline, just where the sun would naturally hit you and also where you would normally put a powder bronzer. I'm actually going to use the Beautyblender. I'm going to use the side and I'm just going to go in little ovals, and I find that this works a treat. Especially when I'm doing a lot of treatments, which usually happens around this time of year because I'm about to kick off another round of auditions. Then I start doing quite a few treatments on my skin. Sometimes my skin just needs a little bit of a break, so using something like the sponge is really, really great. It just, because you're bouncing the sponge, you're not really pulling or pushing on the skin. It helps get the product where it needs to go. So then I'm going to take her cream blush in Pillow Talk, which matches Muse really well, but it's going to stay a little bit longer. And I'm just going to do a few dots right on my cheek. And then I'm going to add a little bit of Lisa's Elevated Highlighter. And I am going to use my fingers for this and then go back in the Beautyblender. And again, make sure everything is nice and seamless. But just adding that little bit of highlighter gives a really healthy glow to the skin. And it also makes that Pillow Talk a little bit more manageable because it wants to stay where you put it, which is great. But initially I need it to move a little bit more. Blending it in with the highlighter works really, really well. Now we are ready to go back in and finish the eye look. I feel like I need a really dark brown or a black liner. I'm going to combine the two. I'm going to use my Stila Stay All Day liquid liner and I'm going to follow that lower lash line almost like I'm creating an additional lash. And I usually like to do a little bit of a kitten wing first and kind of decide if that's where I want to go or if I want to make it bigger. I've personally been trending toward a little bit more of that kitten wing. I think it just makes a little bit more sense for how I'm feeling and how I want to present myself. And then just doing a very, very thin line about a third of the way in to make sure, again, everything is speaking to each other, having a really good conversation together. I'm going to grab ground coffee and just smudge that right on top of the stila and finish the line going into that inner corner. This is a very, very dark brown, so it almost looks black, but it's a little bit softer. And then before I do mascara, I want to add just a little bit underneath as well. So I tried it the other day with doing that ground coffee underneath, and that makes a really great grungy look. But if I'm looking for more of like an everyday smoky eye, then I'm gonna go with something like Smoky Quartz from Victoria Beckham. It's a little bit softer of a color. It still gives you, it still closes down your eye, but in a softer way. And then making sure some of that gets into that lash line so that it doesn't just stop right on that waterline. I'm wiping off my pencil brush and I'm going to go back in and combine both of those colors from the Bella Sophia palette and very gently bring that down onto the lower lash line. Wiping down my 217 and again very gently softening that. So now that the look is basically done, before we set with powder, I do want to bring out my upper liner just a little bit to balance out the closing off of the eye. And I think that complements it a little bit nicer. So we're gonna go in with the Overcurl. This is the refill, and I just didn't have the patience to put it back into the capsule thing. So it's just a refill that came with my kit initially. So working this into the roots of the lashes and then wiggling and pulling upward. So then I'm gonna take my butter powder. I've already dispersed some into my cap. I'm gonna go back in with my 108 because I don't wanna have too much powder on the face. So I'm just powdering through the center of the face. And that is the finished tutorial. Thank you guys so much for watching this chocolatey eye makeup tutorial. I think it's a really fun one for winter. It's unexpected and yet it really livens up the face, and with these colors it works really well with cool tones and warm tones. I do fashion videos every Wednesday, beauty videos every Friday. Make sure you're following me on Instagram and watching the shorts in between for more makeup before and afters and lots of outfit inspiration. And I will see you very soon in the next one. Bye!